That's the cow. Yeah. That'll rip your brim off.
Street gangs have existed for hundreds of years. The first recorded literature on street gangs reaches back to the 1200s. The Toronto Police Archives speaks of street gang issues in the 1850s, where you had sectarian violence in the Irish community. Wherever you have marginalized communities, largely immigrants, who are trying to find their way in a new country, you're going to create the social conditions for street gangs. Part of us in modern day society is trying to find their way, and there will always be groups of people that for whatever reason do not have access to the same opportunity that other people do, and where you create those conditions, you will find some youth deciding, for better or for worse, that the street gang represents for me an option.
I've been on this block, born and raised here, been living here from day one, you know. Seen it all on this hood, on this strip right here. Everything on this block right here I seen. You know, I seen how the game will mess you up coming up in your life, you know. Will mess you up because you just be a little out here trying to go to school or whatever, you know, and cops coming in harassing you, you know, mess up your criminal record from you're young so that you consider the criminal from day one.
A lot of people would assume that gang violence, gang crime, the issue of gangs really is not a Canadian issue, that it's an American issue.
Yeah.
You obviously disagree.
Sure.
Why do you think that it is that people refuse to see that we potentially have an epidemic on our hands?
2005 was a very violent year in the city of Toronto. We had 72 homicides, probably 52 or so of those were gang-related. And I think 2005 was for the first time where we had a broad social awareness amongst the Canadians across the country that we now have a gang issue like never before.
Yo, it's a really look at this. Yeah, fully loaded.
If you lived in inner-city communities across the country, you would have known that there were street gangs, but the broader understanding of this issue was absent until about 2005, and in particular the shooting of Jane Kariba.
Right.
And the moment that a pretty young 15-year-old blonde girl from Toronto got shot, somebody who was not gang-affiliated, it got people thinking that we have a street gang issue.
This is what it is, man. This is the playground of the palace right now. You got the little young bucks running around. You're not really financially stable, so it's always on the grind, and you're always trying to make something of yourself, you know? So basically, it was the normal type of what go through, man. They're grinding, they're hustling, they're struggling, they're brawling, fighting, whatever, you know what I mean? It's just, everybody's hungry, man, so that's what it was like, man. It's real hungry growing up, you know, everybody really grinding and doing their thing.
For them, a street gang represents a family, it represents acceptance, it provides young males an acceptable rite of passage to go from adolescence to being a man by earning respect within the gang, by getting involved in criminal activities which would normally be thought of as adult activities. It provides a young person a sense of excitement, access to women, access to drugs, and again, for many youth who do not have economic options, it provides access to a perceived lucrative underground economy. So when you put these factors together and you have an inner city youth of whatever color, it can be an intoxicating mix.
Why do you feel that we just don't get it? What is it that we do not understand about gang crime? What
I was really trying to set out to do in the book is to try to get people to understand the conditions that have created a street gang situation in our country, from things as diverse as socioeconomic causes, a changing nature of our economy. Years ago, when immigrants came to this country, they tended to work in the manufacturing sector. But that sector has steadily eroded over the last 20, 30 years, and it's been replaced by a low-paying service economy that produces a lot of de-skilled jobs. You know, that's one factor for why new Canadians who are struggling do not have the economic means that their previous generation of immigrants did. We have a situation in Canada back in 1986 where our country went from approximately 100,000 new Canadians a year to over 250,000 with no corresponding investment in the services to make their transition successful. A lack of investment in English as a second language. We still to this day do not have a viable way of taking somebody's degree earned elsewhere and according it the respect it deserves in Canada. That's why we have PhDs driving cabs and working at McDonald's. The discourse has not taken us down that road. It's often been about the Americans have exported the problem, it's moral poverty of youth, it's social affluenza, without looking at the real causes. So if we can get a handle on these are the causes, it gives us a better ability to deal with how to deal with the situation. Street gangs are part of the human condition, and Canadian street gangs are the product of Canadian decisions. And if we are to get a handle on this issue, we have to accept responsibility, own the problem, and take action against it, and not look to external causes for why we are dealing with street gangs across the country right now.
All of us, no matter what turf you're from, it's basically the same shit. We're all going through the same shit, you know what I mean? So I feel your pain, you should be feeling mine, you know?